Hello everybody, and welcome back to another Kings of War Battle Report. I'm Visibly Riley, and this week we have Varangur versus Salamanders in a 2300 point battle of Control. Now, before I get into the lists themselves and then the battle after, I would like to mention, it's obviously been a hot minute since the last time I was on, and in fact, the last game of Kings of War I played was the last battle report I did. So, and that was that was recorded way before I actually put the report up. So it's been a while. What I mean by this is that I'm going to make some mistakes in this game. I'll try to point them out when I can, right? But there's going to be some mistakes in this game, and there's going to be some mistakes in the report. It's just, it's been a while. It's going to take me a hot second to get back into it. But I'm happy to be back, and I hope you all enjoy. Now let's go on with the list. First up, we have my opponent's Salamander's army, which opens with 2 troops of Ancients. Then we have a horde of Ceremonial Guard with the Brew of Strength. We have 2 hordes of Tyrants, one of whom has the Meat of Madness, the other has the J-Boots. Then we have a regiment of Scorch Wings, 2 regiments of Rhinosaur Cav, 2 Liquilodons, a Gekutas Slasher, a Phoenix, a Clan Lord on Raptor, and finally Firebrand. Now, normally I talk about the list here, but I'm going to do that at the end of the video, so if you're looking for my thoughts, they will be there. Moving on, we have my Varangur army with some allies, and again, I know, boo allies, but I'll tell you why I brought them at the end, if you want to see. Opening, we have 3 regiments of Draugr, then we have 2 regiments of Snow Foxes, we have 2 hordes of Snow Trolls, one of whom has the Staying Stone, the other the Chalice of Wrath, then we have 2 Jabberwock, a Magus Conclave with the Famulus upgrade, a Magus Normal with the Conjurer's Staff, a Jarl on Frostfang with the Blade of Slashing, and finally Magnhild of the Fallen. For my allies, I have 2 regiments of Heart Piercers, a Pegasus, and finally a Unicorn with wings and replacing their Heal 5 with Lightning Bolt 5. So with that out of the way, let's go over the scenario, which is Control. As this is my first game back, I wanted something a little simple, and while I'm still not happy with Control being scored at the end of the game, these should probably be dynamic in my opinion. I still like the scenario, and it's really simple to set up because there isn't any. So at the end of the game, you're going to divide the board up into 6 2x2 squares and add up the total unit strength of each player with each player's units within those squares, right? So the player with the highest unit strength in each of these squares wins the square. If you are straddling a line, it's the majority of your base. If you can't tell, you choose one. The hitch here is that you get 1 victory point per square you control, while you get 2 victory points if you hold the square in the middle of your opponent's half of the table. Now that looks a little like this. So we have 4 red squares that are all worth 1 to each player. And then these 2 blue squares are worth either 2 or 1 depending on what side of the board you set up on. Since I'm going to be setting up in the foreground here, the one that's worth 2 to me is this one, as it's my opponent's center, while the center on my side of the table is only worth 1, and vice versa for the Salamanders. So with that out of the way, let's look at the terrain. We have 2 height 9 forests. We have 2 height 0. I know a lot of people say height flat, but it's height 0. Ponds. Then we have 3 height 3 hills. We have 2 height 2 obstacles, I believe they're called. And finally, 2 height 6 impassable pieces of terrain. With that done, let's get into, well, I will say a little bit about the terrain setup. Normally, I like a bit more terrain to actually be in the deployment zones. I think it makes it so you don't just set up, choose the side that you're already set up on. But as this is our first game back, yeah, or at least for me, it was nice to not have to move a whole lot, not have to move my army. So anyway, let's go into the army deployment, starting with the Salamanders, and we're going to start over here on the left, as I would see it. So on that left, we have the first horde of Tyrants with the J-Boots, and right in front of them is the first Rhinosaur Regiment, and next to them is Firebrand. Then to the right of that, we have the 2 Liquilodons chilling in that pond. To the right of that, we have the Ceremonial Guard horde with the Brew of Strength. I know the unit's not done yet, but it'll look lovely when it is, like the rest of the army. Behind them, we see the first Ancients troop. To the right of that, we have the Phoenix hiding behind the height 6 impassable piece of terrain, as they are also height 6. To the right of them, we have the 2nd Rhinosaur Regiment, Tyrant Horde with the Meat of Madness, and the Ancients Troop. Finally, my opponent's right flank, as I would see it, we have the Clan Lord on Raptor, the Gekwata Slasher, and the Scorch Wings Regiment. I love this army. I think it's really nice. My opponent and I have been playing for going on 20 years at this point, and I've enjoyed watching their Salamander style grow. So this Gekwata Slasher, while I know it's not done, looks like it's well on its way to really being a centerpiece for the army. So setting up against the Scorchwings and Gekwata, I guess they're all Gekwata, we have one Draugr regiment. Now, I know what you're going to say. Aren't those the guys you use in Night Stalkers? Well, they are. I've actually bought a large amount of Northern Alliance over the past year from Mantic, using actual Mantic models, but I haven't had a chance to really dig in and finish converting them as well. The Northern Alliance look fine. They look okay, but they're in dire need of some additional modularity and at least additional poses. I mean, come on, there's one Snow Troll. What? So anyway, it's going to be a while before I get that out, so it's just going to be weird models if I play this. Anyway, let's go to the right of that. We have our Pegasus. Behind it is the Magus Conclave with the Famulus, this weird demon-y guy. Then we have the 2nd Draugr Regiment. To the right of that, we have both the Snow Trolls. The Walruses are the ones with the Staying Stone, and then the Bears are the ones with the Chalice of Wrath. In between them, we have the Magus with the Conjurer's Staff. That's funny, because they actually have a staff. And then we have MacLeod, which is this weird-looking succubus model back here. I might call her Herja at times. I prefer that name. I wish she still had it. And then to the right of that, we have both the Snow Fox regiments. And over here, we've got our allied contingent, which is the 2 regiments of Naiad Heartpiercers with the Winged Unicorn with Lightning Bolt 5 behind them. And over here, finally, my right side, or my left as I would see it, we have the 2 Jabberwock, the Jarl on Frostfang with the Blade of Slashing, and the Draugr Regiment, the final Draugr Regiment. So let's take a look at the table real quick, talk about deployment. I knew going into this that I outdropped my opponent, and not only did I outdrop them, but they won the roll for tableside and wanted to choose it, so I'm going to get a +1 there too. So what I ended up doing was I'm just going to put Draugr across the table just to buy time, and because I know I want them, I don't really need them to be anywhere near each other because this is a table 6 game, so I'm just trying to control area, right, by having unit strength. So whatever, I'll just put them all over the place. I knew I wanted either this forest or this pond in this forest to house my shooting battery, my gun battery. I ended up choosing this forest. It's significantly better for me. But I wanted to get the Naiads in there, so I knew I wanted them there, and then I knew I wanted my center to be obviously made up of Snow Trolls because it's the clearest part of the table. With that said, I think I deployed relatively well. I went wide because my opponent can't go as wide as me, and on top of it, they stacked this right side a little heavy, and so I just built my Jabberwock plus Jarl side over here because the idea is that I'll be able to roll through a lot quicker than they will, right? Because these are like Scorchwings and Slashers, and I do more damage than that. So that's my idea. I think the only thing I really messed up on is that the Magus Conclave is sitting here in this pond. Normally that's a good idea, right? Like, oh, it's a war engine, you put it in the pond, right? It's also stealthy and nimble, so it can really double dip in that defense defense structure. But yeah, my opponent has a lot of speed over here that are pretty close to it, and I'm too far away from the rest of my shooting, I think, with this hill in the center here that I can't see over. So yeah, I should be over here with the Magus Conclave, but the rest I'm relatively happy with. And with that out of the way, let's go into turn 1. So turn 1 went to the Varangur. We start on the left here. I move forward with the Jabberwock. Jabberwock are an interesting unit. They are speed 7 nimble, and then they're also Strider Brutal, Thunder 1 Crush 1 with 7 attacks on 4+. So their attack profile isn't great, but they are a pretty decent speed unit because they're 50 mil nimble, right? But they do have an additional special rule called Feeding Frenzy, which makes it so at the beginning of a combat round, you count up the number of wounds on the unit that you're fighting, and you add that to the attack characteristic of the Jabberwock, right? So it's sort of like a reverse Hydra, which is interesting. Now, normally this list is built to take advantage of going second. I don't always want to go second, but I do like to be able to take advantage of it with these Heart Piercers. So the idea is that, you know, if I have to go second, my opponent moves forward, I shoot them with Heart Piercers, and then on my turn two, the Jabberwock go in there and get some extra attacks, you know, get some value going. But considering it was control, I just thought I wanted to actually control the center and force my opponent back, right? So I took turn 1. I'm not going to get that value out. But I do get to move forward. I move the Jabberwock out of charge range. All of this cannot be charged, and then the trolls cannot be charged here, but then these trolls move forward a little bit more, and they can't be charged by any of this, or by the tyrants, importantly, but they can be charged by this Rhinosaur regiment, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, come at me, right? I don't really care if the Rhinosaurs charge into me. I'm pretty confident that my Snow Trolls can walk through them, especially with MacLeod here and another unit of Snow Trolls that can just go in and flank them. So that's going to be the plan. I do move the Pegasus here to, that's not a great line. It's facing a bit like this, right? So the Scorch Wings cannot land in such a way, like they can't move fast enough to get out of my line of sight, which is the idea, just because I don't want them whipping around and then me having no recourse. So that's it. Let's go into the shooting. So we have my Lightning Bolt, the only things in range. So I have Lightning Bolt 9. The Magus has 1 raw reroll due to the Conjurer Staff, but they also have Elite. So they're relatively efficient in that Lightning Bolt use. And right here, I end up doing 3 wounds in total. I have 5 Lightning Bolt on the Pegasus, 4 on the Magus. It's pretty funny with the Magus. I actually hit with all 4 Lightning Bolt. It was the wounding that was the problem. So, meh. 3 is fine though. Right here, I do take the Conclave, take aim, and fire into the Rhinosaurs, doing 3 damage to them. My idea was that I would love to combine my damage. Obviously, the Conclave wasn't placed with the Lightning Bolt, so it can't really combine that easily. But if I'm not going to combine, I want to stretch it so the Phoenix cannot Radiance both the units that I've struck, right? You want to have to trap them into healing one or the other. So that's my plan. And here is the end of turn shot. Obviously, I don't kill either of those units, and I don't waver them either, especially the Rhinosaurs, which are fearless. So we move into turn 1 for the Salamanders. So turn 1 Sallies, they advance forward, as you can see. A lot of the units are trying to stay out of range, which, fair enough, but I've moved far enough forward, and Varangur are quick enough, even without their mounted sons, to really put some pressure on early. So the idea, my opponent's idea, I believe, was these Rhinosaurs are within charge range of both the Jabberwock and the Jarl, right? I guess also the Unicorn, but that doesn't matter too much. So I could take all of these in here. And he was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I can take that charge, but we'll see about that. Right here, the Ceremonial Guard are going have a very similar plan where they're like, okay, so you can charge me with both of the Snow Trolls if you want. One of them will end up being hindered, and it's incredibly unlikely that I'll either waver or kill this unit. I do have MacLeod, I should mention. Her leader point is on the hill, so I can see over. But yeah, I can take this charge. I also don't think I'd be able to kill anything, so I'm going to have to be wary of it if I end up taking it, especially because you can see these proxy bases. So that's 100 mil, and it's just making sure that the Gecko Slasher can see the flank and go in there if I do end up taking that charge. So it's a risky one. Let's see what happens over. Oh, and lastly, you can't see it, but the Scorch Wings are over here. Yeah, they just they landed behind this hill, and they're going to harass my Draugr, I guess. So we get into shooting. The Lachilodons can fire. Right now, they do have steady aim, but they're going to be -1 to shoot out of this pond they moved in anyway. So they take aim at my Unicorn that already has cover. They do 1 point of damage, but as is our channel's rule, you roll double ones. Well, we count it, so that's double on 1 of the game. It was on 1 damage though, so it didn't really matter. And up here, here's the end of turn shot. Nothing else happens. Firebrand didn't have any shots, and there was... Oh no, something did happen, which is, I think the Phoenix healed something. I think it healed the Lachilodon. Yeah, I think that's what happened. It healed there and got its Radiance here, so these guys are down to 2. And with that, let's move into turn 2. Turn 2 for the Varangur. Yeah, I do take this triple charge up here. All 3 of them going in. I could have put a 4th in, the Unicorn. That might have been an interesting, spicy move, but I do not in the end do that. So I take them in there. I move forward with the Heart Piercers because I'm going to shoot into the Lachilodons, and since they already have cover because of the area terrain that they are within, I decide to take my Snow Foxes and just charge into Firebrand just to gum things up here. I don't expect to do anything. I don't even expect to wound her to turn off her shooting. I'm just making it obnoxious to be within one inch of me, considering all these are ranged units. So that's the plan. and then I make sure that my lightning bolters are at least 50% into this forest, so I'm going to get cover back if they want to shoot at me. In the center, you can see both the snow trolls, kind of see it, I guess. Both the snow trolls go into the Ceremonial Guard. It's a bit fuzzy, obviously. Pictures weren't my forte this night. But anyway, we take both them in there because I thought I could protect them relatively well. The snow foxes here, I've blocked off this flank charge. It's not possible, as not only can the Gekota Slasher not get there, they can't fit the 75 mil right there, and nothing can clip my edge or anything like that, so no flank charges. All these units are in the flank, they can't come around, so I'm relatively protected, and I'm like, yeah, I'll take that double there. In the meantime, I take my Draugr into the Slasher. That is because I want to keep it over here. I want to keep it trapped, and I want these units to feel like they're doing something by killing off a Draugr unit, but really I just want them to be maybe a little out of position, or not to spend a turn positioning themselves even better. So I don't care if the Draugr die, basically. I do take MacLeod into the Clan Lord. Now this is because of the Magus Conclave. So the Magus Conclave, I haven't moved it yet this turn. I had not, because of its poor positioning, I need to protect it a bit better, right? So I decided to take the charge into the Clan Lord because I can't get out of its charge range in my mind. While still being useful, right? My opponent did not move far enough forward for that. So I take MacLeod into it. I'm not really worried about Reprisal. She is a Def 5, -15 unit with Iron Resolve, so I'm not too worried about anything bad happening to me after that. But I just want to, if I could get a lucky waiver here, that'd be great. That means the Conclave almost certainly gets another turn, because I also get the Pegasus into the Gekota Slashers, right? That's gonna, I think, pegs hit on 4s, right? So 3 attacks on 4s or 3s, I can't remember. And then wounding on 2s. So yeah, I'll take that. And over here, let's go with the shooting. So we take aim at a Lakilodon. We do 9 wounds to it, but unfortunately we just waiver it. It's unfortunate, and it's fine, right? Like, at least getting a waiver makes it fine. So I'll take it. And over here, yeah, the Pegasus charges in and does 0 wounds. I hit once, and then I rolled a 1 to wound, so that's not good. At least I turned the Draugr to not expose their flank, just in case. Over here, speaking of the other Draugr, they and MacLeod go into their respective targets, and yeah, they do pretty well. The Draugr here do 2 wounds to the Gekota Slasher. I'm happy with that. And MacLeod does 3 wounds to the Clan Lord, which I believe is average, right? She has 7 attacks on 3s with Elite, and then wounds on 3s, so 3 is a decent amount. It is a 10 to waiver, of course. I don't hit it, so I don't waiver or kill either of these units. They're fine, but I'll take the damage. Now, here's the aftermath of those Rhinosaurs. Obviously, they're gone, and this is mistake 1 of the game. So I was like, yeah. So, these guys had their few attacks, and I'll tell you what the stat block I told my opponent, which is I was like, Jabberwock have 5 attacks, which obviously is wrong. They have 7. And I was like, okay, my opponent based their math on that. And then when I got in there, now you might be thinking like, I went, oh, they have 7 actually. No, I kept them at 5 this whole game. But what we messed up on was feeding frenzies, because I charged in and my opponent goes, oh man, can you just like attack with the Jarl first and then a Jabberwock and then a Jabberwock, right? So like this guy does 3 wounds, well this Jabberwock's +3, then this Jabberwock does 4 wounds, and this Jabberwock is +7, right? And I was like, oh, that's crazy. Does it work like that? So we spent all this time looking it up. We looked up everything except for the freaking Jabberwock's rule. So yeah, that was a bit of a brain fart there. But on the plus side, I don't do I don't do too much with the Jabberwock themselves. I did decently with them. They, don't get me wrong, they really laid in there. But I believe the Jarl here did 8 wounds, so 8 out of 8 hits and wounds, and I rolled a decent nerve anyway. I rolled above a 7 with each of these, so it didn't matter. But I did play the rule wrong, so we're gonna mention it here. So anyway, I advanced forward. I also did this. I'm not sure. I think that there was an erratum on this, but this is how we're going to play it, which is I advance forward with both the Jabberwocks. The Tyrants are in both of their flanks. The Tyrants cannot ever touch their flanks because they can't be picked up and placed, as these guys are supposed to be adjacent, right? So they'd have to, it would be a corner charge here or a corner charge here, so they cannot do it. So instead, I think in that case you get to choose you can charge them in the front then, because you can't trap a unit, I don't think. So anyway, that's the way we played it. If I'm wrong, feel free to tell me. Just make sure you give me actual resources, because you know, how you want to play it and how you think it should be played is different, right, from how it actually works. The way we did it here was how we wanted it to be played, which is you can still charge them in the front. So that's going to be that. So yeah, this is the end of that combat. And then in the center, I do pretty well here. I have 18 attacks on 5s and 3s with Vicious, and then 18 attacks on 4s and 3s with Vicious. And and I managed to do 12 wounds to that unit, so I'm very happy with that. I don't get a waiver. That would have been nice, but it's like a 9. But still, I'll take it, because it is very difficult to remove either of these snow trolls on my opponent's next turn. So with that, here's the end of turn shot. You can see everything. So things went well on the left flank here, but on the right flank, a bit of a snafu. So still an interesting game. And right here we see Salamander's turn 2. First off, we have the Tyrants deciding to charge into this Jabberwock. They could have charged this one as well, obviously, and they decide not to, just because this one would make them pop their J-boots, right? While this one doesn't, so might as well just charge into them. So they charge here. Firebrand, I actually did wound. I didn't even talk about that combat. Firebrand, I wounded twice with my snow foxes. So yeah, great job, foxes. You're great. And then Firebrand could disengage 1 inch, right? So back up and see just this back corner. So yeah, then they can individual and then nimble pivot right into me, and they will join the Tyrants, because failing to kill that Jabberwock would be very bad. And over here, we have what my opponent ends up doing. They deliberate for quite some time about how they should handle what's going on here, and it's because of the snow foxes, because the Lochilodons have to be more than an inch away, right? More than an inch away from me at all times, unless they want to charge. So the Lochilodon could charge and end up here, which is not helpful, or it can end up here, which is sort of helpful, because this one is again wavered, so it can't do too much. And what they're trying to do is make it so, if we go back a picture, the Lord on Frostfang you can't really see clearly here, but I can easily charge into the flank of those Ceremonial Guard. But they're basically limiting the ability to do that, so I'd have to move the Snow Foxes, which is easy. I can just charge in. And then one of these trolls, these ones in particular, would have to just back up during my turn and let the Lord on Frostfang, because I land like here-ish, right? So that's what they're trying to do. There's not a better way to do it. We spent a lot of time on it. So it ends up looking like that. And over here, yeah, a lot of other charges into a lot of garbage. So we have a charge with the into the Snow Foxes with the Tyrants. I actually thought the Draugr I thought the Rhinosaurs were in the front of the Draugr. I'm not sure I would have taken their charge. Otherwise, I don't know. It's probably fine. Trapping the Slasher is fine, but I really thought it was in the front. And it clearly wasn't, by the way. This was not a like, oh, you fast moved it or something. No. It's very obviously not. But yeah, they end up taking the flank charge. I think maybe sending, I don't know about the Slasher, because the Slasher could have charged into MacLeod here. And especially with the double charge from the Clan Lord, they could just pick him up. But the Clan Lord instead the Slasher instead just decides to double up on the Draugr, which is fair enough. Make sure you remove fearless units when you can. And over here, yeah, the Scorch Wings just bypass my apparently useless peg, and then I don't know if this is their final placement or not. I know that they've got my peg in their line of sight, so it looks good now, but it's something like this, just so they can shoot at it, because shooting at the Draugr, who cares, especially with Iron Resolve. And back here, we've got the Phoenix getting ready to cast Heal onto the Ceremonial Guard. Yeah, they heal 0. So this is from Radiance. Knocked 1 wound off. Good job, Phoenix. You're doing the Lord's work there. And over here, the Scorchwings take aim at my peg, and yeah, they do 0 wounds, so I'm glad they've agreed to my slap fight. And over here, we've got the one Lochilodon that can shoot, fires at my Jarl, and does 1 wound to it, but does not get a waiver. So Yep, that's pretty cool. Here you can finally see the Clan Lord. Clan Lord went into the Magus Conclave, which is a war engine. Did get the treble attacks, but it is hindered due to me being in the pond. Only manages 6 wounds on me, so I'm like, yeah, that's a 7 to kill, right? And of course they roll 7 and kill me. And I'm like, damn. But yeah, Magus Conclave's a great unit. And up here, this is disaster, which is the Tyrants plus the Firebrand only manage 8 wounds. Now, I will say the Firebrand is hindered on this charge, but, that's not the biggest thing. So yeah, only manage 8 wounds. They did get a waiver, so at least they hit the 5, or the 7 that they needed for that, because if they didn't waiver them, that is super bad, especially as we were playing Feeding Frenzy wrong at this point. But yeah, it's still going to be a flank charge onto those Tyrants. So, and right here, the Ceremonial Guard who countercharge, they countercharge into these Snow Trolls, because these ones I would still be hindered if I want to charge into, right, because it's not a counter. They manage 10 wounds, which is really good. I think that unit's, like 25 attacks on 3s, and then they wound me on 3s because of the Brew of Strength. So, yeah, managing 10 wounds is solid. But, and my opponent picks up the nerve dice, rolls them, rolls a 5, and goes like, whew, at least I got you wavered. And I'm like, nah, I have the Staying Stone. So, Staying Stone, it's a great item. Bring it. And I end up ready to rock. So, over here, yeah, the Draugr and Snowfoxes get deleted, as you might expect. And we move on to turn 3. So turn 3 for the Varangur. We're going to start here with the left flank. I do end up taking this Jabberwock into the flank of the Tyrants because I can charge into the front with the Jarl. And it was interesting because we are playing Feeding Frenzy wrong at this point, and I'm like, of course I'll do this. Like, this is a good charge. But if we were playing Feeding Frenzy correctly, I might not have. I probably would have done something else I'm going to show you in a second here. And I moved the rest of my units around a little bit. I'm trying to get closer with my Magus, because if this guy survives another turn, I could back up again, and then I can use their their transference rule to move some of that damage, D2 of it, onto these Draugr, because they are a Bloodborne unit. So I move forward with the Heart Piercers because they're going to shoot at this uninjured Lachilodon, and then I charge the other Lachilodon with my Foxes because it's already at 9 damage, so might as well just go for the kill that way. In the center, this is what I was talking about with the Jarl, which is I end up charging, I double charge with these Snow Trolls because at 11 wounds, I don't want to tempt fate. But if I had been playing Feeding Frenzy correctly, I could have charged these Snow Trolls and MacLeod, who was over here, into this Tyrant unit, because MacLeod could see the unit and she's in the rear. And so she can individual pivot here and then pivot normally here, and then nimble pivot right past the Rhinosaurs, get into the rear, and get the Trolls here, which is, it's not the best charge, right? I believe on, on the average there, it's like a 7 to kill, but still, it's a pretty good charge, and I'm not really worried about the damage that comes afterwards, as I did regen 4 of the wounds back, right? So I'm down to 6. So it's interesting, at least. And then I could have taken these Snow Trolls, gone into the front of the Ceremonial Guard. I'm still hindered either way, so whatever. But I would have a Jarl in the flank, so that's probably just going to do the work anyway. In the end, I end up not doing that, and instead I go for this double charge with the Trolls. Because we don't know how Feeding Frenzy works. Over here, I turn my Draugr to face the Scorchwings. I'm fine with just staring it down because the Pegasus just runs off. So now I'm giving the Scorchwings a choice. Do they want to continue being in my backfield and messing around with me, especially because Draugr are difficult to mess with? Or do they just want to fly off and fight my peg, right? Just try to kill it, especially as I'm on 0 wounds. That's a tough order. And I take MacLeod back into the Clan Lord. It's already sitting on 3 wounds. It's at 13-15. So if I get a waiver here, I think this move is pretty good. And up here, yeah, we're just going to start with the shooting. So we've got double lightning bolt. I did move these guys specifically so they can see my target, which is this Firebrand. They're moved exactly so this frontage has no cover, and then lightning bolt ignores individuals. So I'm going to fire in there. I end up doing 4 wounds, which it's all right, right? I've got a lot of rerolls, so it's a high variance, play, but I end up doing 4 wounds. It's a -15 though for Firebrand, so unlikely to do anything to her, but I went for it. And then both the Heart Piercers fire into this Lachilodon, Manage, I can't even tell those wounds. This picture's so blurry, but I do get a waiver, whatever it is. So I'm either lucky, lucky with the nerve, or lucky with the hits, and a little unlucky with the nerve. Either way, waiver is fine again. So let's take it. And over here, you can see the end of this combat. Yeah, I walk right through those tyrants because of our Feeding Frenzy fiasco. So I believe this guy does like 6 or 7 wounds. And then this then has, it was 6 wounds, right? Because I remember we were like, oh yeah, that Jabberwock has 22 attacks. So yeah, reading, it's hard, man. So we walk right through those tyrants, and then we will turn to face after the combat. And up here, yes, the double troll charge does manage to take out the Ceremonial Guard. Now this one was interesting just because I hit with the trolls here, I hit 10 times and I did like 1 wound, and that was super worrisome. And then these guys did actually pretty well, but it's still like it was one of those like I got them at, you know, whatever, I think 19 wounds, because I think I needed a 4 to kill him twice, and I was like, oof, that's a good roll, you know, that's a good hit, but you know, when you're talking about it just on pure tempo, that could be a huge swing if I fail. But I didn't, so I kill him off, and then I turn to face. As you can see, these guys, if I want these snow trolls to turn, these guys have to turn pretty far, because, you know, this unit's still like this, right? So like I don't have a lot of area to turn on, so I can't get these guys into my front as well. It's impossible. So instead, I turn them, except that this is going to be a flank charge. I'm not too worried about it, because I think the trolls are probably dead anyway, and it can protect these trolls instead from these guys being able to charge in. Yeah, I don't think they can charge in. Maybe they can. Who knows? That was the idea at the time. I probably could have executed a bit better. And here is the blurriest end of turn shot. I can't even tell what's happening. So let's just move on to turn 3 for the Salamanders. Turn 3 Salamanders, there's a better shot. So the Salamanders, I did manage to kill off the Lachilodon with the Snow Foxes, which is great. And then you do get to see the reform of the Jabberwock and the Jarl. They're facing into the center of the field. So with turn 3 Salamanders, we've got Firebrand going back into the very wounded Jabberwock right here. So I'm on 8 wounds right there. They're on 6, so just looking to pick them up real quick. They are inspired due to the Jarl, so there's that. We have this Lachilodon. I think it just backed up a little bit because it is wavered, and then the Phoenix can heal it, or maybe it's just going for Radiance. We have a flank charge from the Ancients here into my Trolls, and that is because you can get a front charge with these Tyrants, and this is enough damage to likely kill a damaged Troll Horde, while the other units just sort of move for position, right? So we have these Ancients coming up around to maybe threaten some of my units. The Rhinosaur is trying to take the center along with the Gekwatas Slasher. So the Slasher is in a great position right now to really be a nuisance, because it's a relatively fast, but it's mostly a nimble unit, and it also has a gun, so it can shoot, right? It's just solid. And then the Scorchwings here decide to go for the Pegasus, so they're just going to run up the table, get out of charge arc of the Draugr, and go after me. I probably could have moved this a bit better, and not as faced as aggressively towards this part of the table, but I think I moved these and then I moved the Pegasus. So yeah, because I thought these guys had shorter range, but they're, I think they're, I can't remember, 12 inches or 18 inches. They're pretty solid with a 10-inch move. So yeah, these guys should probably face a bit better, but it didn't. So moving on. We've got the Phoenix here firing off a fireball into my Snow Foxes, managing only 2 wounds, which is not too bad when you think about it. Like, they're fireball 10, I believe, but I do have cover, so only on 5s, but it's 2s to wound, so yeah. Anyway, 2 wounds is not enough to get a waiver or a kill, so we move forward. We've got the Gekwatas Slasher taking aim and firing into my Trolls, doing 2 wounds, not getting a waiver or a kill there. That would have been an amazing waiver. Yeah, because I have Chalice of Wrath, not Dwarven Brew, so I would have just sat there. And the Gekwatas Slasher is firing into my Pegasus, doing 4 wounds, but luckily not getting a waiver there either. So I'm pretty okay with this. And yeah, into the combat, we've got the Tyrants and the Ancients fighting me, and then this guy fighting the... So I don't know what I'm showing here. These guys kill them, right? It must have been an even worse picture. But yeah, they easily kill off these Trolls. The Tyrants actually don't do too well, but the Ancients pick up the slack, so pretty good there. Firebrand comes into my Jabberwock, managing only 1 wound, and since I am a 15-17, that's a tough order reroll and 8 rerollable, so they don't get a kill, but luckily they do get, or luckily for my opponent, they do get the waiver again, so I'm sitting here on 9 wounds with this Jabberwock, just ready to fight again, I guess. And obviously the proxy base is where I am, since we don't play well with others. And here's the end of turn blurry shot. So yeah, you can see the tyrants and the ancients have killed off those snow trolls there and have turned to face me. And everything else is as it is. This is the only unit killed, I believe, this turn. Yeah, that's it. So a little rough right now, but let's see what turn 4 holds with first the Varangur. So turn 4, we've got all my shooting moving out because there's nothing really over here anymore. I do turn my light. No, wait. No, the unicorn's facing like this. Okay, so I'm gonna turn all my shooting onto the Gekkotas Slasher. I want to get rid of this Firebrand, but it's not a scoring unit, and the Slasher is in a very dangerous position for me. So I have to move it, and I have to move it in a weird way because I also want to charge into the Clan Lord, who has run away from MacLeod, who I think it's up to 6 wounds now from her. But I haven't got a waiver or a kill, obviously, and it's run off, so I can't charge this. I can't charge this again because I popped my wings turn 1. So yeah, I want to get my Draugr into it. That would be a really lucky finish, but just getting any damage onto it so MacLeod can come and get an easy finish later would be great. And then I back up with my Jabberwock here because I'm going to do that little transference thing, right? So I'm going to pull 6 and 6 and do D2 healing here. So let's see about that. And in the middle of the field, yeah, the wounded Lachilodon, the wavered one, I send both the Jabberwock and the Jarl into. Normally I wouldn't have sent the Jarl up but I did want it to be farther up the field, and the Frostbane gives you Strider but not Pathfinder, so I couldn't run through this pond, but I could charge through it. So this just gets me closer to the line because I want to get my very inspiring bubble going. I do send these Snow Foxes here into the Ancients. Yeah, I'm not expecting them to do anything. They've already done well enough, but they are trapping it, so it's not possible for them to then flank my Snow Trolls. So that's the plan, because the Snow Trolls have to take a gambit here, which is I have to go into these Tyrants and bet that the Tyrants, 1, won't kill me, or that yeah, they won't kill me, because I'm not really going for a kill here. I need to kill in 2 turns, but I'm a high variance unit, right? 18 on 4s and then 2s with Vicious, so maybe, but they can't be wavered is the issue. It looks like I've screwed up my wound dial, so that's not a great start. I was only at 2 wounds and I rolled regen. I know I failed, but it looks like I've now put it at 3 wounds, so you know, things happen. I do take MacLeod into this unit of Rhinosaurs, and that is because they're very wounded. I think they're at maybe 5 wounds at this point. They've got quite a few due to the Magus Conclave firing at it earlier and not receiving any heals. So I'm like, MacLeod might be able to just pick this unit up, just get a free kill. So I'm going to go for it. And again, it's not very dangerous for her there. And over here, yeah, I just take these Draugr and go like, screw it. The Scorchwings aren't going to mess with me. I'm out of their charge arc, and now I'm projecting threat into the center of the field again, while I take the Pegasus, and this was a decision. I could have run away, right? I could have run across the table, but I didn't want these Scorchwings to actually engage in the center. What I want them to do is continue cowering back here behind the forest, right? So I thought about going into the forest, but then that would give them an overrun through it. So my idea here is to place myself in such a way where to get a clean shot, they're going to have to be, again, close to the table edge. And if they wanted to charge and actually get closer to the action, they're going to end up being hindered and might not kill me due to the wall. So that's the idea, is just to sacrifice my Pegasus for positioning. And over here, yeah, I do go for the transference. I only get 1 wound off, which sucks. It's a 50-50 though, so, you know, it's better than nothing. And with all my shooting, I managed to put 9 wounds onto the Gekkotas Slasher. I don't know off the top of my head if that's great, but it seems good. You know, I've got Lightning Bolt 9 with some serious rerolls on a lot of it, and then I have 20 shots with Pierce 1 that hit on 4s because the hill does not provide cover to a height 6 monster. So 9 wounds is pretty good, but that's going to be a 7 to waver, not my favorite number. And over here we've got, I do end up getting a waiver here though. It looks like I lost the picture, so that's really good. A kill obviously would have been better, but a waiver is all I actually want here, right? Like, that would be, or all I actually need here. I want to kill, I need a Waver. So Waver's great, I nailed the 7. Over here, big news, the Draugr walk into that Clan Lord. I've got 12 attacks on 6s because I'm hindered, and then I wound on 5. So of course I do 2 wounds, right? That's the average. And then I just pick them up. So yeah, MacLeod couldn't do it, but these guys, they're the real heroes here. They've been noticed by all the Valkyrie, I'm sure. And here's the end of turn shot. Finally, blissful clarity. So yeah, you can see how all the combats go. I did have a picture of this, but I lost it somewhere in the scrum, which is, yeah, I double won this. I double won the Lakilodon. I put them on some pretty serious damage there, though. So, you know, it is devastated. I think it's at 12 wounds. But yes, I do get a double one. But things are looking pretty good, especially because the trolls, yep, did roll very hot here, picked up the tyrants in one go. If any of these combats was going to work like that, this is the one I wanted, right? MacLeod does pretty well in her combat, but she needs a 6 twice, doesn't hit it. And again, that's fine because I managed to kill off the tyrants, and I have backed up with the trolls because MacLeod is a mighty hero, although these guys are what is it called? I hit them in combat anyway. Disordered. Aha, I remembered. They're disordered anyway, so they can't go through my hero, but she's mighty, so she's also blocking it up, and this is wavered, so I'm not really worried. So a pretty good turn. It's going to be hard for the Salamanders to come back in turn 4, but let's see what they got. So turn 4 Salamanders, they're going for big plays now. We've got the Phoenix going into the flank of one of my Heart Piercers, just trying to pick up kills where they can get them. We have the Firebrand going in to try to finally kill off this stupid Jabberwock. And up here, we have the devastated Lakilodon going into the Jarl. Not really trying to kill it, just trying to do a wound or 2. A lucky Waver would be great. And over here, yes, so in the center, we see the Ancients getting into the fight. So Ancient 1 goes into my Snow Foxes looking to kill. Ancient 2 goes into my ever-growing... When you fail regen, I guess you get wounds. The Ancients go in here to try to kill off these trolls, or at least damage them. We have the Rhinosaurs going into MacLeod to try to finally get rid of this nuisance. And the Gekota Slasher just turning to face the Draugr because they're so annoying. And at 9 wounds, you know, a rear or flank charge is not what you want to see. Over here you can see my ploy worked, which is my opponent is faced with a decision of, you know, getting closer to the actual game, or do they want to kill off this Pegasus? And they decide, yeah, just kill the Peg, make sure I can't have a flying unit capturing table quarters anymore. So fair enough. And here in shooting, they managed to do just that. They actually roll pretty well here, if I remember correctly, and make it kind of a foregone conclusion. But yep, it's popped out. And right here, yeah, my opponent finally manages to kill off my Jabberwock at 12 wounds, by the way. They just barely rolled a 5 to kill it. So that would have been a Waver had I transferred 2 wounds instead of 1. So it was a fun fight, at least for me. So here, MacLeod takes 3 wounds. I think that's pretty good because I think those guys only have 9 attacks on 3s and 4s. So, you know, I guess it's average. Yeah, that's fine. I don't get Boxcar killed, so I'm ready to go. Or maybe it's an 11. I think they're brutal. And up here, the Ancients managed to put 2 wounds onto my Snow Trolls, but do not get a Waver. Not that it matters too much because of my Chalice of Wrath. And then the other Ancients managed to put down these Snow Foxes finally, I believe. So over here, yeah, the Phoenix charges in. It has 10 attacks because it's a flank on 3s and then 2s. Excuse me. So I'm like, it's pretty poor odds that you're gonna actually kill my unit here. So of course they do, and they turn to face the other Heart Piercers because why not? And here's the end of turn shot. Just as you can see, keeping all these units in the front. I think this Pegasus this Unicorn might be in the flank though. That's Anyway, and as you can see, the Snow Foxes are dead. This guy doesn't do anything because Devastated's a stupid rule. Like it's just poor. But anyway, that's going to be that. So let's turn into turn 5. So turn 5 for the Varangur. We have Draugr charging into the Phoenix. They're hot off their kill of that Clan Lord. So they're like, yeah, we'll hinder charge you too. They're going for that. I decided to not take the Pegasus charge there. I don't know. Maybe it was better because removing unit strength is great, but I'm so far ahead that I'm not sure it matters. So instead, I'm going to try to remove the biggest threat over here, which is Firebrand. So let's get rid of her. I've got Lightning Bolt 9 again with no minuses and some serious rerolls, and it's already at 6 wounds. So let's try to get rid of that. The Heart Piercers here are going to shoot the devastated the double ones. Lakilodon, try to pick that up real quick. And over here, yes, I send both the Jabberwock and the Jarl on Frostfang into this ancient troop. The other ancient troop receives the wrath of my trolls, who have regen 2 wounds back, so they're down to the 3. Then I take MacLeod and go into the side of the Gekota Slasher because it's already at 9 wounds, and the Draugr rolled high enough that I could actually get into the flank of these guys who are at 10 wounds. So that's if I do 1 wound, it'll be a 4 to kill, I think. Or maybe they're at 9 wounds, and if I get them to 10, it'll be a 5 to kill. Either way, it's a pretty good go. So 24 attacks on 5s, 5s and 5s, I'll take that. And down here, you can see my shooting. I pick up that Lakilodon pretty easily. And yeah, here we go. Here's another double one. So I believe, is this my third or is this just the third of the game? Either way, I double won this ancient unit with the Lord and the Jabberwock. So, you know, that's fun. Up here, though, I managed to put it looks like it was at 9 and I put 1 wound on it. So it's a 5 twice to kill it because I double won those ancients. And over here we've got, I do manage 1 wound, so, you know, I turned off its ability to fly and shoot and heal besides Radiant, so, you know, we've got that going for us, so that's great. And here's the end of turn shot, just because I couldn't remember what was happening, so that's why I was going through that quickly. First off, we've got the lightning bolt. I fire off, I roll abysmally, and I don't even know if I do a wound. If I think I actually did do 1 wound, but I did not do enough to get a decent nerve check, so Firebrand's ready to rock. I did manage to kill the Lakilodon there. I double won here. The trolls killed off these ancients pretty easily. Yeah, here we go. I don't roll the 5 here to kill, but that's fine because MacLeod just picks up that slasher, and I'm like, yeah, I'd much rather have the slasher gone than the rhinosaurs who are trapped, right? Because MacLeod, again, is mighty, so they can't move through her, or they can't, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. So yeah, things are looking really good for the Varangur, but let's see what the Salamanders have in mind with their turn. So Salamanders, first off, we have Firebrand going into my Magus. That is an because Firebrand is a duelist. So we'll see about that. The Phoenix decides to continue fighting Draugr because screw these guys. Someone's got to kill them. Got to stop their reign of terror. Over here, we've got the Ancients here deciding to charge into my Lord again. I don't think these ones are devastated. I think it was an actual double one to kill, not they were above their wounds. But whatever, devastated doesn't matter anyway. So they go in here. We'll see about that. Up here, yeah. So in this little combat, and wait, did I not grab a picture? I guess it'll be at the end. So we'll start with the Draugr, who take either 1 or 2 wounds. I'm not exactly sure if I have Iron Resolved at this point, but not a whole lot from the Phoenix, and they're fine about it, so they Iron Resolve back. And then the Magus, I believe, took 5 wounds from Firebrand there, and I was like, okay, that's pretty good. She's a 11. My Magus is 11-13, so it's gonna be a hard kill there. But yeah, they don't even waver them, so I'm ready to go. And up here we have the Ancients. Yeah, they do all right to my Frost Lord. I've taken a few wounds here and there throughout the game, so I'm not exactly sure how many they did, but it's not a waver, it's not a kill. And right here, MacLeod takes a few more wounds, I believe 3 from the Rhinosaurs deciding to charge her, and again, not getting a kill. Maybe she took 4, and I've already Iron Resolve back. I'm not sure yet. And here's the end of turn shot. So as you can see, things are looking a little grim, but let's see what turn 6 has in store. So turn 6 for the Varangur, we have a pretty weird charge here. So I take MacLeod. She can just run across the table at this height 6 monster, charge it in the rear. Then I take my Magus and charge as well, because why not just get an extra attack. I send the Draugr in, and then I'm going to try to shoot down this stupid Firebrand. I've got Lightning Bolt 5, and then I've got 10 shots on 5s due to individual. So that's going to be the plan. Looks like it's at 8 wounds, so I did 2 before. Over here, yeah, I have a flank charge with trolls, and I have a flank charge with Draugr, so that's not great for the Rhinosaur Cav. And then I take the double back into the double one unit before, try to finish them off. You can see the Gecko Tower having nothing of this game anymore. They're just playing some blackjack scoring and going like, yeah, we'll get points elsewhere. And as you can see with my shooting, I fire it all off and do 1 wound with all that, and I do not get a kill because 6s are difficult. Speaking of not killing, I don't kill the Phoenix. I'm not exactly sure. Like, that wasn't a great... It's not the best thing, but I do have 13 attacks that hit on 5s, but they wound on 3s because Phoenixes are relatively squishy. But I guess MacLeod decides that Phoenix is not a worthy target for her. So when she goes in there, she's like, whatever, and does like a wound or something. But I did ground it. It's fine. Elsewhere on the table, things go great, which is the tag team duo here finish off the Ancients, and then the Trolls plus Draugr finish off the Rhinosaur. And you might be wondering, you should probably be... I have not reformed these units yet, I'll tell you that. But you're like, oh, you should be moving around the table to get these table 6. Well, at this point in the game, I thought it was turn 5. It's not until after... You'll see the final shot here. Well, you'll see it in a second. You'll see it in the Salamander turn, how I ended up moving some of these units with the reforms. But I thought it was turn 5 until my opponent's turn, when he was like, oh yeah, we'll roll off for turn 7. And I was like, oh no. So anyway, let's go into Salamander Turn 6. So first off, we have Firebrand going into my Magus. Yeah, easily picks her up this time. Down here, we've got the Phoenix going back into the Draugr. They don't really do anything, and these guys just hide. So you can see now that I've moved my units. I do have this, so if we divide the table up into 6, this is very rough. It's really not where it is. So X's are Varangur. I do have this one. I have this, and then I do have the center right now. And then no one has this, no one has this, and no one has this. So right now I'm winning 3-0, but we'll see what turn 7 has in store if we get the roll off. So let's see. Of course we do. So turn 7 time. Turn 7, I'm like, oh yeah, I need to move all my units. I need to actually get these table quarters, or table 6. So I keep the unicorn over there. I'm deciding I'm just going to shoot into Firebrand because I believe the actual table line puts 50% of this unit. No, that's right. The Draugr have this, right? Yeah. So that's going to be the plan. We double charge the Phoenix again, just looking to kill it off. And over here, yeah, I just moved my units to take their 6. So we move the Trolls into my bottom, right? So if we are there, the Trolls have gone here. And then I put the Draugr here. I put, you can see up here, the Jabberwock. I put it over here. And that's going to be that. I believe these guys can either come here and contest it away from the Draugr, or go here and take it from the Jabberwock. I'm not really worried about either of those things. Here is the end of turn 7 for the for the Varangur. It again, if we divide it up just real quick, I do have X's are Varangur, so I have this, I have this, I have this, I have this, I have this. So it is currently 5-1 for my opponent. So I'm not exactly sure what they can do about it, but they might as well try. So turn 7 for the Salamanders. We have the Scorchwings moving into their table 6. Obviously, just looking to get that point, because again, if it were blackjack, it's better to gain a point than to deny a point for your opponent. Or maybe it's the same. Whatever, feels better. So they're going to shoot in here into my Trolls. They can get a lucky kill, right? Like if they do, let's see, I'm at 3 wounds there. So they need to do 3 wounds to me. Or 2, yeah, 3 wounds to me. I was right. They're in 18. So if they do 3 wounds to me, they can boxcar me twice and kill me. So they're going to go for that. And yeah, they obviously that doesn't work out. The Phoenix goes back into, I believe, back into the Draugr again. It doesn't manage to pick me up. So that's going to be the end of the game, and it's going to be 5-1 for the Varangur. So it's a nice victory to come back with. Let's talk about conclusions and list discussion. So the conclusion here is, yeah, both of us need a lot more practice, especially me. I felt really bad about my play in this game with stuff like the Feeding Frenzy. Now, keep in mind, the Feeding Frenzy thing my opponent brought up, I was just going to take 5 attacks, which was cheating the wrong way. But yeah, that's just how it goes when you're coming back into things. It would be great if that is how Feeding Frenzy worked, but it doesn't. So that's it for the game. As for the lists themselves, we'll start with the Salamanders. I do like the Salamander list. It's closer to what I think I would run if I were running Salamanders. I really like Ancients and Troops. I don't like them in regiments. Personally, I like them as a backfield piece or sort of like a second line, a second layer. I think they're really good at that. And I think the rest of these units are interesting, the Scorchwings especially. I personally wouldn't run them, but my opponent runs them well. Same thing, like, I know Lachilodons are great, but I always screw it up using them, so they use them well, so it's just sort of a choice thing there. The Geckotoss Slasher, it's a very interesting unit. It's much maligned, but my opponent has run it in a couple of games, and even games that I've played against him. And yeah, I thought it's great every time. So it might be one of those sleeper units, right? Like it's a little expensive, but I think it has the correct kind of stat block where like it has a bunch of minor things that add up to a major thing. The Phoenix is one of those units. Again, a lot of people don't like the Phoenix, but I think it's because they're conflating the Phoenix's role in Basileia, which isn't that great because, you know, Samacris exists and she's often just a better Phoenix. So you go like, well, why would you ever bring this? Salamanders don't have Samacris. So I think in Salamanders and are similarly benefiting greatly from that heal because they have decent def, good nerve, and so on and so forth. So yeah, I think the Phoenix is a great buy in Salamanders. It might be a little difficult to fit in a lot of lists, but if you can fit it in like this one, go for it. The Clanlord, I think, is another unit that it's interesting. I think at the beginning of 3rd Ed, I probably would say, well, why are you running these, you know, these really expensive individuals? But the more I play, the more I like them. Like the, what is it, the Soulblight? What's the Twilightkin Lord, right? You know, the mini Mikaels, really good unit, and I think the Clanlord is another one of those. It's just solid to have one of these running around the table. Firebrand. Firebrand's a unit that I know I've talked a lot on the various Kings of War groups about. I'm not a huge fan of Firebrand, and that's mostly because of an internal issue, which is Firebrand competes with Artakal, which I think is just a vastly superior unit on paper, right? But this is sort of showing off why it doesn't pay to just go, well, this, you know, X unit is always better, because nothing's objective, right? Everything is subjective. Everything's based off of when and where and how and why, right? So Firebrand in this list I like a lot because this list needs another unit that stays with the block and gives it inspiring bubble and can handle flyers, handle individuals, right? Gets a bit more shooting. I would love to see Firebrand have 18-inch range on our pistols, but otherwise I think it's a really solid unit. As for the Varangur, this is my first take on it. I put up a thread a while ago, probably almost a year ago, talking to people about what they would like to see in a Varangur list, and there were two major things that people wanted. One was no mounted suns, right? Just no mounted suns in your list. And then the second one was they wanted all these shooting units. And I tried for a while to get the shooting units to work. I could not. And in the end, I decided, well, screw it. I'm just going to put in allies. And this is sort of the problem with the ally system, as I see it, is because I could easily justify these allies, right? Like, we've got a unicorn, we've got a Pegasus. Those are just monsters that the Varangur could have easily enslaved or just had, right? You can have darker versions. And the Naiads, well, there are tons of Naiads in the north, right? These could be ice Naiads that are just running around with the Varangur and using their crossbows instead. So I can easily justify it, but that's just what it is, a justification, right? It's me trying to get power into my lists and using lore to get it in there, which is a fine thing to do, but I do think I think the game suffers on the whole for it, because I look at the shooting units in the Varangur proper and I go, I just don't see the point in running those when I can run heart piercers, when I can run a unicorn, when I can run this and that. And if you keep going like, well, heart piercers are the problem, I will just move on to the next shooting unit or the next whatever unit, right? The problem is allies. The problem is having a system that is based off of lore reasons, right? There's no reason beyond lore that Varangur can ally with forces of nature, right? It's the ridiculous good, evil, neutral thing, right? Because no one sat down and went, okay, what do mechanically orcs bring to the table and how could they influence their allies then by bringing those? No, it's, well, orcs, you know, would ally with demons, I guess. So let's put them together, and that's it, right? So I'm all for allies. I just think it should be a format of the game, right? It should be an additional thing that you can play in the same way that Helpia's Rift is. So anyway, until then, I'm going to be running allies. Not in every list, but in this Varangur, where, you know, people liked the shooting and I wanted to do something a bit different. I know I say it's a bit different, and then people are like, well, isn't that just the Force of Nature, you know, package? Listen, I wrote this before everyone was all keen on it. You know, everyone was still going like, flame bearers, and I'm like, nah, heart piercers, man. But anyway, it helps the Varangur have a shooting build, right, to run their allies. So that's going to be it for the battle report. I hope you guys liked it, and until next time, bye.